sort through what is fact and what is fiction from his expert vantage point. Eldred, good morning, and thank you for joining us. Okay, there's a great deal of mirth this morning about Brown Mogotsi's testimony, and we read you the headline in the Sowetan this morning, Brown Mogotsi, which is effectively dismissing what he said as gossip. And in fact, those are part of the adjectives used: wild accusations, hearsay, when he talked about Mkhwanazi being a CIA operative. What did you make about his evidence, and what type of cautious audio filter do we need to apply when listening to testimony like this?
Indeed, we do have to apply a cautious filter. In fact, we have the legend, Brown Mogotsi, who spins quite the yarn, Iman and Arubile. This is a man who, by his own admission, built a legend in his own name. Unless, of course, his name is not Brown Mogotsi. And I think we got to ask him that question today. So the fact that he is familiar with a intelligence speak, legend, contact agent, the whole thing about operations. Effectively, he sells himself as what in intelligence terms, I guess, would be called a covert human intelligence source. And he seems to be running his own operations, which is unusual for anybody who's a source, unless he's been specifically mandated, of course, to go and recruit or handle other sources. And we now have to get behind who his handler and co-handler is. And so that they, maybe in camera or elsewhere, if they do exist, can actually be put to the sword or be cross-examined. And today would be interesting because it's very difficult to refute spin unless you get very specific evidence, which I think he's going to be at pains to produce.
I mean, okay, let's break things down because, I mean, you're an expert, so there's, terms and expressions that you use which you understand fully, but the rest of us might not be as easily accessible. So when we talk about handler, and he's referencing of being a handler or being handled, how should we understand that? What does it mean?
Well, all intelligence officers are asked to go and recruit human sources, who effectively provides them with information or gives them access. And these human sources could be motivated by their own reasons. It could be ideological, it could be money, or it could be the fact that they have personal relationships that gives them access to others or to opportunities. So their motivations aside, these are individuals who's basically willing to compromise others who provide information to an intelligence agent. Intelligence agents who are specifically trained to handle these relationships, these covert sources, are called agent handlers because the source is called an agent. So he says he's a contact agent. And what we know about contact agents in the main is that these are individuals who's not specifically trained intelligence spies. They don't often have very specific training. So they have individuals who basically task them, who build a relationship with them over time and can assess the credibility of the information provided by them and will reward them financially or by providing other opportunities and access for them. So the handler is somebody who has cultivated a source and builds a relationship with the source and gets information from the source.
Do you think, I mean, I'll go back to his identity and the credibility of his identity just now, but the way that he described his involvement and, of course, the claims that he was making about a number of these serious players in, this theatre of malfeasance, in his mind, including people like Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi and others, how credible was his testimony to you?
Well, he seems to have bought into his own legend and his own infamy. Is that the word? Being infamous?
Yeah.
Infamy. So that effectively he's become the character that he has cultivated and has developed over time. So he sounds smooth, he sounds less than convincing, but he does, as we say, spin a good yarn. So to test the veracity of what he's saying, it's going to be difficult because this guy has been hiding behind bluster. he's been hiding around posture, and he's hiding behind stories. So he's come across as a chotsi, as a schemer and a scammer, even when he first appeared. And it's what is even worse, Iman and Olabile, is that he's come across as a double agent. He seems to be playing all sides to the middle, and he's the one who's been benefiting from this relationship. And I'm not saying that easily, because there are little indicators that seems to suggest that he was playing everybody.
Yeah. You know, let us not forget the alleged hit on Brown Mogotsi, and police said that he was uncooperative afterwards. This is a person that seems to be incredibly slippery. You can't pin them down. Of course, it was important for him to come to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry because his name keeps coming up. But it's hard, as you've just again confirmed, to pin him down.
Absolutely. And it's going to be difficult for him to, I think, produce the evidence. He said that the evidence used against him are fabricated. It's texts, it's WhatsApp chats. We haven't heard any recordings of him as yet, but he was very clear in the level of detail. So now the only way we're going to offset the level of details in terms of the amount of money paid, the meetings that he had, and the instructions he got from his handlers, unfortunately, will not necessarily be today, but to then actually go and investigate directly with those who he named, and he named sources apparently, and he named individuals off camera or in camera, or I mean away from the public view. It's now for those investigators to go out and find corroborating evidence and go follow up on what he's saying. We may not have the satisfaction of that today.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we go to Richards Bay Minerals and the testimony that was given in that regard. And, you know, Mkonazi was talking about the fact that his team members were taken there. They shouldn't have been there, members of the task force. There's a whole scandal around the deployment of specialized security forces to RMB. And the only sort of connection we can make between that and what Brown Mogotsi was saying yesterday was referencing, you know, coal interests in Richards Bay, that they're connected to the Israelis. Of course, we do know that South Africa does export coal to the Israelis, but it's a tale that is, it feels like smoke, like you can't really pin it down to, as you say, the evidence. He's going to have to bring the evidence to back up what he's saying. But I'm concerned about something you said, which right at the very beginning, Eldred, and this is there a Brown Mogotsi? Does he even exist? Why would you raise that?
Well, I raise it because, like I said, I tried to explain, I think he's become the person he's created. Because the thing about a legend is the legends need to be drawn from some aspects of your life that you know and remember, so that you are consistent in the lie that you present to the world. So I think a lot of what he says is akin to his life, you know, being in self-defense units, going through the process in 95, 96, or 93, or 94, I can't remember the dates specifically, but then becoming an informant or an intelligence source and working and operating in that field. It's a very long time to stick to character. He's become that character. And the first thing that I had was in mind is his name even Brown Mogotsi? Because he was asked by the evidence leader directly, you built a legend in your own name, and effectively he didn't say yes. He said yes, but it was a very cagey yes. So I suspect that is not his name. I suspect that he